Chris Primetime Colbert. You already know what it is. He won in controversial, fashion over Venezuela. I know this is going to cause a lot of shockwaves throughout boxing, and there's a lot of questions that we're going to arise tonight because this is very crazy, in my humble opinion. It seems like we all got the same set of eyeballs, but we all seeing the fight differently, and the fight was scored differently. And it left a lot of disgust from Hall of Famers, judges, announcers. Everybody has weighed in on this. Last night. I had so much going on, but this fight was the most egregious when it came down to the way the score, the card, and everything was judged. But it is what it is at the end of the day. I do like Chris Colbert, but he is coming off that loss from Hector Luis Garcia, and the ring rust showed. I seen ring rust early. Some people may view it as they seen the ring rust from prime time in that first round, and then every other round after that, he started to wake up a little bit. But I will tell you this dude, Venezuela, that loss on his record, his second loss is very controversial, and it's going to send shockwaves. Jose Venezuela, I thought this dude was about to drop this guy. I mean, right away, he put the pressure on prime time. When he got knocked out, I was like, yeah, it ain't gonna be much longer. Sean Porter, one of the guys who were on the scorecards, he had Chris Colbert winning the fight, despite getting hurt, in the early rounds. And like I said, Venezuela was putting heat on him. It seemed like Valenzuela, I don't want to mess up his name. It seems like he was able to hurt him anytime he felt like, anytime he wanted to put the heat on prime time, he could do that. Give Chris Colbert some credit, because I know that everybody's going to just dog walk him, for this win. But he does need to give credit for a guy that did not just get knocked the hell out, because it could have happened. He stood in there. Mind you, he was making his debut, I believe at 135 against this guy. And the way the dude punched is ridiculous. But he won unanimously, ladies and gentlemen. 95-94, on the judge scorecards. Some people may feel like that basically this fight may have been ordained before, before the fight even happened. Like this was going to be a coming out party for Chris Colbert. But it is what it is at the end of the day. It's unfortunate, that this happened, but he got to get back to the drawing board. I'm hearing Frank Martin's name floating around for a possible opponent for one of these guys. I'm gonna be on 100 with you. As controversial as this fight was, both of these dudes better stay the hell away from Frank Martin. If they want their health, to continue the way it was moving, because you looking at a guy like Venezuela, he's gonna have to think very hard. He had times to finish Chris Colbert off and he didn't, and in this boxing, you gotta finish him off, because things like this can occur. Fighters don't want to leave nothing in the judges' scorecard hands, and you seen Jose Valenzuela, he pretty much left everything in the judges' scorecards and hoping that things was going to come through for him when he could have took destiny in his own hands, but he didn't. So that's something that he's going to have to deal with. This win, loss, whatever you want to call it, this was extremely controversial. And it sent boxing fans in a frenzy. Nobody likes this, that this happened. Floyd Mayweather came out and spoke. They was talking to Jose Valenzuela in the ring, and he asked the reporter, "Do you like the decision?" And the reporter didn't say it right away that the decision was trash. He eventually got into it, and he was like, "Hey man, I did not like this decision." He just blatantly came out and said it, So he was definitely cheered. Chris Colbert was booed, after. And it's continuing. If you look at Chris Colbert's social media, a lot of people are saying some harsh things on him. You know, nobody's really giving him this win. They telling him, "Hey, man, how you gonna accept this? How you know?" But he's letting it know that all wins ain't pretty. You know, but as we getting into the next day, you starting to hear judges and people finally come out and say what they truly felt about that fight. You know, where at times Chris Colbert may have been putting this guy Valenzuela on his heels. You know, so that's just a lot that you got to worry about. And also Chris Colbert, he gotta calm down in the ring. I think he gets a little hectic, a little too excited. You know, he got to learn how to box, because if he was put in there with any other fighter, you know, he would have been finished within minutes of that first round, because I was shocked. That's why I'm going to give him the most credit for hanging in there. But I also got to point the finger at him for not doing what he was supposed to do. And this fight and loss is gonna really linger around Jose Valenzuela. He looked very upset, like he was about to break down in tears, you know, but who could blame him? Because he felt like he was completely jerked in this fight. But I don't like the fact that it was a unanimous decision. That was the most egregious part of the situation. It should have been a draw. Some people may have looked at it like that, you know, because they both, you know, if the judges want to go that route, you know, because Colbert has some success, but I mean Venezuela dominated, you know, and that's where it's kind of like what are we looking at? That's what I'm saying. We all got the same set of eyeballs, but we seeing things different. For anybody living under a rock, this fight obviously was on the Caleb Plant David Benavidez card. You know, that fight against Caleb Plant. I'll give a quick update. That fight went the distance, even though people was expecting a knockout. David Benavidez looked very sharp. You know, the WBC interim world super middleweight. I mean, he obviously got his sights set on, you know, Canelo Alvarez. You know, and these two guys, and Chris Colbert and Jose, they got one of them gonna have their eyes set on Frank Martin. Like I said, where do they go from here? Because clearly both of them need to sharpen up the tool chest, you know, before they start getting into stiffer competition at 135, because this gets deadly. You understand? This dude Colbert, could you imagine him against Tank, the way he got hit today by this guy? You know, do you know if he would have beat Hector Luis Garcia, he would have fought Tank? You know, and Tank would have violated this dude. You know, you seen what he did to Hector Luis Garcia. Hector Luis Garcia didn't even know where he was at after he got caught with one of those hits by Javante Tank Davis. He didn't understand where his surroundings was, you know, and that's just ridiculous, you know. But nonetheless, you know, it's Flight Sports TV. We're going to continue to bring content to the people. It's boxing here. Make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe. Peace and love to everybody. We got more coming. This was an egregious, crazy, controversial win, victory, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's Flight Sports. Peace and love.